Chris, a lot of time you come into these games and players are in a rush to get home, and it's not always as pretty today. You know, your kids showed, I don't think, showed a lot of maturity the way they came out and took care of business. What was your take on it?
Yeah, we talked about that. We talked about it yesterday. We talked about it again this morning, and we didn't want, you know, the most important game this week was this, you know, this game, because it's to win the, you know, you want to win your home games in the league. And I thought, you know, we did not have a shoot around this morning. We just did a walkthrough, and I thought they showed great maturity to come out and play the way they did. But even more so, the second half. So against Florida State, we came out like that, and we were up. We had a big lead at halftime, and then we kind of took our foot off the pedal, and the second half was what it was. And I thought today, the second half, we showed the same kind of aggressiveness that we did in the first, which kept the pace and kept the score at a pretty good clip. So,
Mike?
See, Gino joked recently that the problem with Nika making her first three is that she wants to take another one, but I guess if she makes her first four, that's pretty good.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. So one of the things we said going into the game was that we really wanted to score in transition because we thought we would have an advantage doing that. And at the same time, I told them I want them to push the ball, and then we had a couple of turnovers that were like, but you can't have it both ways, so you kind of have to live with some of those turnovers when you're trying to score in transition. And they do a really good job of packing it in and making you have to make outside shots, and we did that in the first half. Nika, Carol, everybody took turns and made shots. So I think they were good shots. And they came within the rhythm, and they weren't too fast. They were within the rhythm of what we were doing, and it wasn't like 5 seconds into the shot clock. So I think I can live with that. Hopefully Coach can when he comes back.
Roger?
CD, is it a great way for Carolyn to go into the break, coming off a good performance and playing really well tonight?
Well, I think it's when I didn't realize this during the game, but we had 6 guys in double figures, and we had 30 assists on 38 buckets, and well, we made our average of turnovers, so that's the only negative thing I can see. But I think it's a good way for our team to go into the break. You know, playing well and playing a team in front of a great crowd, actually, for a noon game. I think everybody, but certainly I think Carol put the Florida State game and this game, she gave us a lift off the bench, and we needed that.
Alexa?
Hi, CD. Sunday's, I guess, a 3-week mark from AZ's injury, so I was just curious if you had any updates on how she's doing with her rehab, and if maybe it's looking like she could be back closer to 3 weeks, or if it might be more to the 6 weeks.
That is not, that's not my pay grade. You know, I do know her rehab is going well. I know she looks good in the things that she's doing, but where she stands, that's, you know, up to our medical staff. And with AZ, so I really don't know. And I don't think we would even talk about it until she's ready and whatever happens after Christmas. But it's not something that you rush. It's something that, depending on what the doctors say and where AZ is.
Daniel?
CD, over here.
Oh, okay. The lights are bright.
Second straight game back for Dorka, and it kind of seemed like she carried over her performance against Florida, really balanced stat line. It doesn't seem like she really stands out in any one area, so does she just help the team in all areas when she's on the floor?
Well, I'd say 11 rebounds helped us a lot. She, had a double-double, 10 points and 11 rebounds, but certainly she gives us a presence in the lane and also can knock in outside shots. She helps defensively because she was, she can match up against a taller post player. But just having another body, another experienced person to put in makes a big difference. And the other day, we had a lot of guys play, a lot of minutes, and we did today. But I thought I did a better job of trying to balance that out and give guys breaks, even if it was a minute or two here right before the quarter, to try to not do the 40-minute like I did the way it ended up the other day with at Florida State. So I thought we did a pretty good job balancing it and trying to be where Nika ended up having some fouls, but Nesh was able to go today, so she was able to give us some minutes, and So I was pretty pleased with how all of that came out.
Go to Jim and then Lila.
Great movie.
Oh.
You guys have been through a lot since the season started, players leaving the lineup, coming in, lineups changing. How would you sum up what you've seen from the maturity and how they've dealt with a lot of different situations they probably never thought they'd be in?
Well, unfortunately, we've had a lot of experience doing it, and so I think that experience from last year and even earlier in the season has helped us, both with losing coaches and coaches being out and players being out. So we've gone through that before, and I think they did show maturity in showing that they had just one focus, and that was the game, and they didn't let the outside distractions or drama or any of that impact their approach. And I do think that's growth in this team, because trust me, there are many days that they're immature and I see that, but I think this was a big step for them in terms of how we handled the last week.
Lila.
You mentioned the 30 assists on the 38 made baskets. Just what did you think of the ball movement today and the chemistry that this team has been able to build so far this season?
Well, I think our first group has pretty good chemistry, and they've spent a lot of time together. And I thought, in practice, we tried to put some of the combinations that we may have out there, work a little bit more together in practice so that it wasn't going to be a new experience for them. And so I looked out a couple times, and there were some different lineups, but I thought the older players in the lineups at that point were a steadying factor. And whether it was Nika or Leah or even Dorka, I thought they did a good job of helping the younger players and the people that were in a little bit awkward positions. So we were playing two post players, they went small. That's a little bit of an adjustment for some of those guys, but overall I was really pleased.
Maggie.
Going back to Caroline, Gino said last week that he wasn't quite happy with her this season, that she hadn't quite reached the potential she was playing with last year. But these past two games, do you see her kind of scratching that surface a little bit more?
Absolutely. I think she's really working hard on the defensive end, and I think that that's an important part of where she needs to improve. And then on the offensive end, it's not just about making shots. It's about doing the other things. It's about cutting when you're supposed to cut, setting screens for your teammates, making good passes. So you don't play well only when you make shots. There are things that you can do on the offensive and defensive ends that impact the game without scoring. And I think she is probably focusing a little bit more on doing those things that help the team than worrying about whether her shot goes in.
Mike.
See, with Nika, everything from her defense to leadership and facilitating and scoring, everything she does for this team, how valuable has she really been to this whole operation, particularly at times when you guys have been a little shorthanded?
Well, I don't think you can underestimate her value. I think you saw it when she was out. It was just one game. It felt longer because it was at practice as well. But Nika she's our energy. She has a passion for playing. She is the first one excited about what her teammates do, and she just loves playing. And she's the kind of player that you want to play with. She's very unselfish, on and off the court. Everything with her is about our team. And when you have someone like that, and she has the ball in her hands and really controls the tempo for us when you don't have her, it's pretty evident that we miss it.
Carl.
Chris, when you've had breaks like 6-7 days between games before, the kids were in school or they had exams or whatever, and this time they'll be with their families at home and that. Is this a good time for that break, and what is the schedule for when you'll be back at practice and when you'll head to crate?
This is a great time for everybody, I think, from starting with coach all the way down. I think it's a great time just to get away and be able to spend time with your family. I think the players, if I know them, they'll probably, some of them get into a gym and shoot and try. They need to keep their conditioning, but this is the first time, I think, that we've ever had to come back on Christmas. So hopefully next year the schedule falls in our favor and we don't have a game on the 28th and the game's on the road. So normally we would come back on the 26th, but if you come back on the 26th, they're traveling the 26th, and we get on the plane the 27th, so it's best if we come back the 25th. But some of our international players are not going home, some are. But it's always a good time when you get a chance to be with your family, get presents, get spoiled.
Christmas?
I'm sorry?
Are you hosting Christmas?
No. No, they wouldn't get fed if I was hosting Christmas. They want food, they need to go home. But yeah, so it's for everybody. I think the coaches get to go home and spend time with their families as well. And it's just, I'm just really, really happy that this year we're able to head into the break after a win and not after a loss. And to do it against a team that is a really good team. And they're going to beat some teams in our league, they're going to be in the mix. And to do that in knowing that we're heading home and all those other outside factors, I just, I'm really proud of them and happy for them so that we can go home happy.
Roger.
CD. Aaliyah
It's like
said,
a voice from heaven, they just pop out.
Aaliyah said maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe a little bit more, that she finally got the whole consistency in practice part and how important that was. And she's starting to show it now with a high level of consistency in playing games. How important is that for you to get that every game in and out for her?
Oh, it's critical. I think as any coach would tell you that they want to know what they're going to get from each player every day in practice and then every game. It can't be an adventure. And at times with young players, it can be an adventure. But with Aaliyah, I think her decision making has improved, and she's doing a great job reading on when to drive, when to shoot. She's rebounding the ball. She's coming, rebounding outside her area. So I just think she's in a really great place, and that confidence comes from working hard, and that confidence comes from putting time in. And she's done that. She did it in the summer, and she's done it since she's been back on campus, and I'm happy she's able to see the fruits of her labor. But she's not done yet. There's another level she can reach, and she's going to need to continue to play at that level in order for us to have a chance.
Hi, CD. Straight.
Hi.
St. John's just entering the AP poll at number 25, and throughout the season there have been Big East teams that have really resided in that poll along with you. What does it say about the strength of the league and the fact that the nation as a whole is starting to see how strong this league is, not just in March, but early on in the year?
Well, it started last March, and then I think, Creighton has really played they've played a tremendous schedule. They played at Stanford, they played Arkansas, they played a lot of really good teams. And I think that's only going to bode well for our conference. Villanova did the same, playing Iowa State and people at that level. St. John's, it's great for our league to have that many people in the top 25. And I think, people have a tendency to not pay attention to the Big East. And I think with the success that they've had and just their willingness to go out and compete. I mean, I don't think anyone in the league, the teams in our league are going to play against these teams and get blown out. I think there's a competitive, their style of play. One is very difficult. So I think it's great for the league, and hopefully we'll continue to get more teams in the league. And I think the more teams, you start with, 1 or 2, it gets to 4. We're hoping that it's going to be like the year in the old Big East where we had 9 teams go to the NCAA tournament and postseason play. So that's the goal.
Alexa?
CD, I was just curious if you had heard from Gino how he's feeling, I'm sure he has feedback on how the games have gone, but also if he expressed any, plan for when he intends to return to the team.
I did not look at my phone at halftime, and I have not looked at my phone since the game ended. He did FaceTime with the players before the game, and he's feeling better, so that's a good sign. I can't speak for him, so I don't know when. Our hope is when we get back on the 25th that he'll be with us, and if he's not, his health is really important, obviously, and that's the priority. So we'll deal with it. We're going to enjoy it, and hopefully he'll be able to enjoy some Christmas time with his family as well, and then when we come back, we'll figure it out.